and we're trying to use and adapt these language model technologies to help the user when they get stuck. So here's a screencast of a user typing, and at some point they maybe become doubtful about what they're expressing and whether that actually is a true depiction of, or the best expression of what they want to say. And we have a language model that's been trained on all of science, all of published articles in the world that can help them expand and explain what they're trying to do. And then some steering mechanisms that could help them regenerate this section to express what they truly want to express. And these are the kinds of products that we'll be seeing in the coming years. I think in many respects we're reaching kind of a tipping point where the technologies that we've known in image recognition and computer vision and all those features are now coming to language. It's taken a while for computers for us to develop the right algorithms to understand language, but we're just getting to that point where it's becoming incredibly possible to work with the real meaning of language. So you may or may not know this, but all of computer vision technology really took off about 10 years ago with the creation of ImageNet, a million image database with classified and tagged images. And that was kind of the start. From that, we saw the style transfer. Here you can see a photograph that you can maybe you can style like a painting by Turner or Van Gogh or Munch. We can transfer night styles onto images to make them look like they were taken at night. We can change the style of scenery in an apartment. We can create new tools that allow you to basically compose artistic output using the types of tools that we couldn't imagine 10 years ago. And other types of output that we probably also couldn't imagine 10 years ago. So here's another fun example. I don't know if you managed to see this while it was live. So there's this guy in Holland who trained a deep model to reconstruct photos from line drawings. He basically showed it a lot of line drawings or examples of line drawings and the corresponding photograph. And that allows you basically to do a line drawing and then have an approximate photograph generated. And that's of course pretty funny to play with, especially when you start to draw strange objects like these. But you may struggle to see what is the business application of this. Other people have struggled less to find more nefarious applications. This is some of the other things that we can do with this technology. So we're, I think, facing a whole era of lacking trust in the pictures that we're watching, and soon that same problem will come to text and to language. Of course, there are also less nefarious applications, and augmented reality and ways that help us provide services much faster and at a lower cost is probably a more positive depiction of this. But what we need to remember, though, is that these deep learning models, while they're incredibly impressive, I remember when I first saw this. This is a Google algorithm that can tag and write down depictions of what is on an image. I was incredibly impressed. But what we need to remember is that this is not really understanding in the way that we think about intelligence or understanding in humans. So here are other examples of things that most humans would recognize as failures. And no one, I think, in their right mind would ever park an airplane like that. And when we had thinking machines, this is also, I guess, going on 10 years ago. This was 2011 when Watson won the Jeopardy championships. This was not the end of history. We don't have thinking machines that think like humans do. We have AI that is very, very good in some narrow verticals, but we don't have any general intelligence, and we're not, in my opinion, likely to have it anytime soon. That doesn't mean, though, that we don't imagine having it. We think we know AI from the movies, but the reality of AI is slightly underwhelming. AI is the technology that allows you to speak to your phone, or the thing that means that you don't know why your house loan was rejected. It's the thing that allows you to lift your hands off the steering wheel, or the thing that allows us to kill people from a long distance. So what is the role of humans in this new world? When I grew up in the 70s, we used to have chess on TV. We saw like the big grandmasters from the US and the USSR playing chess.
Sorry to interrupt, Max. Just running out of time. Maybe you can just speed it up a little. And Ajay is also on stage to actually ask you a question. He's just waiting for you.
Okay, thank you. I'll round this off in a second. Sure. So the thing is, we shouldn't be afraid of new technology because we continually refine what it means to be human. We don't we're not sad that we can't run as fast as a horse. We sit on horses and then we go faster. And AI has always has some intent. When we design products, we build that intent into them. They don't run amok. They just don't go necessarily in the direction that we planned. And so we have to be really, really careful that we don't think of these systems as intelligent, but think of them as either smartly or less smartly defined. And one of the key things that I want to point you to here at the end of the talk is all the pitfalls and the ethical problems that we could see. So here in the top right, you see a soap dispenser that doesn't work if your skin is colored. We have many examples of bias in training sets. But fortunately, we keep forgetting that even when you have bias in training sets, that normally means that the current state of things are actually not that great either. So we had a lot of there was a lot of talk about the bias in the sentencing systems in the US, but we shouldn't forget that the reason that bias was there is because judges themselves are currently quite biased. So as long as we design these systems with an afterthought of transparency and fairness, we can make systems that are better than what we have today, even if we automate them. So let's watch out and not train on data that we don't understand. So there's some examples of products built by people who think that they can just plug deep learning onto some video and extract sensible features that make for selection of good candidates, for instance. Let's watch out for that, because when you have a large open world and you're trying to set objectives for training, then sometimes you have really strange emergent behavior. And so with that, I'd like to hand over the reins to Santosh.
Sure. Thank you so much. So you can unshare the screen and then join us on Image. Thank you so much. So over to you, Ajay. I think you have a question and then.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Santosh. Thanks, Max, for not only this keynote, but also the earlier panel, fireside chat, whatever you want to call it, that you did a couple of hours back. And I'd like to kind of pose a question, bringing the two together. So the role of humans in AI is something that we tried to touch upon not only in a couple of panels earlier today, but also when we were doing the road shows leading up to building up the summit. Taking that and your earlier session where you spoke about how ecosystems can be built and how research, academia, industry, governments can kind of come together. And given that your company, your organization, Unsilo, is now in collaboration with Cactus Communications, there's already a Indo-Danish kind of collaboration there. What are the areas that you see, given strengths that the Nordics in general has, around research in emerging tech and the kind of work that is happening in Denmark and the work that you do, you see that there could be potential to do more in the corridor between Denmark and India?
So first of all, yeah, we're now a part of Cactus Communications. We were wholly acquired, and we're very happy to be part of such a large and influential organization. We're now the leaders in our field of services to authors and researchers. And I think I feel incredibly lucky that we're in a position where we can apply the skills that we have, not just for improvement of a particular set of skills or to find like the cure for cancer. I think when I get up every morning, I think that what we're doing is we're enabling researchers across the globe becoming more efficient and getting better at what they do, discovering relevant new knowledge faster, and in essence accelerating the pace of research across all fields. That's what we aim to do with our tools. We want to remove all friction and make research faster and more efficient. And I think we've always spoken about the intelligence explosion and about the growth of human knowledge and capacity as an exponential curve. But the most important part of an exponential curve is what's the doubling rate? How long time does it take to get inspired by new research and build on top of it? And I think that's one of the key problems that we aim to solve, to accelerate the pace of research. I think in the Nordics, we've built a really solid social welfare system that allows us to experiment more. One of the things that is a prominent problem, both in the US and from what I know of the developing world also, is that there's so much at risk, and it's so difficult for people to make that decision to become an entrepreneur or to do something out of the ordinary, that when you're in a welfare state like Denmark, it's so much easier to bet on something that you believe in, because you're not risking the health of your family. And I think that's one of the things that allows Denmark to innovate sometimes at a much greater pace.
Sure, then. Thank you. With this, we have to end this session right now. So by Mads, how AI is empowering researchers. Thank you so much, Mads, for being out here. And then, of course, the audience, you know how to applaud. I don't want to say that again. Thank you so much, everyone. We have some interesting session coming up next. I think Ajay will put up a light before that next, immediately in a minute or maybe 2 minutes time, because we have 5 AI product showcase happening. Very encouraging or very interesting ones. I have been part of it, so I know sneak peek of what it is. So be out there, hang around, and then after that, you have something more, special, which Ajay is going to mention right now. Yes, Ajay. Can you just inform?
Yeah, so just like Santosh has mentioned, we did 5 startup showcases last week. We are doing 5 today. And the special announcement that Santosh is mentioning about is something that we have been looking forward to, and I hope that, or we hope that a lot of people in the audience as well, is the release of the India AI landscape report, which has been in the works for a few months. I'll not kind of disclose more because Jagruti is going to be making the announcement or talking you through the report, has a fair bit of slides to run you through. So that is the big announcement that Santosh wanted me to kind of make. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mads. We'll see you soon again. Okay. Thank you, everyone.